Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to tell you a story that proves skill has no price tag and respect can change a life in a single moment. It's a story about a billionaire, a broken jet, and a single dad mechanic no one believed in. It was early morning at a private airport where everything smelled like fuel and money. The kind of place where people in tailored suits walked fast and spoke louder than they needed to. A massive private jet sat silent on the runway, sleek and expensive, but completely useless. Mechanics from the best companies had already tried everything. Engineers with international degrees, experts flown in overnight, all shaking their heads. The jet simply would not start. Every delay was costing the owner millions, and his patience was running out. The owner of the jet was a well-known billionaire, powerful, confident, and used to getting results instantly. Meetings were waiting for him across the world, deals that could not be postponed. Every minute that jet stayed grounded felt like an insult to his status. He paced back and forth, snapping at assistants, demanding answers no one had. The final report came in, and it wasn't good. They said the jet needed a full system replacement, weeks of work, and an insane amount of money. Even for him, the time loss was unacceptable. That's when a quiet voice spoke from behind a maintenance door. A man in worn coveralls, grease on his hands, eyes tired but focused. He had been listening while fixing a small aircraft nearby. He was a single dad mechanic, someone who spent his days repairing planes that barely got noticed. His name didn't matter to anyone there. He cleared his throat and said softly that he might want to take a look before they gave up. The room went silent for a second. Then a few people laughed. The billionaire turned around and looked him up and down. No designer suit, no badge from a famous company, just an old toolbox and a humble posture. The billionaire asked him who he was and why he thought he could fix it. What the best experts couldn't. The mechanic didn't argue. He didn't brag. He simply said he had seen a problem like this once before, years ago, and that sometimes the issue wasn't what the computer showed, but what it missed. The billionaire hesitated. Pride told him to say no, but desperation whispered yes. Finally, he waved his hand and said the mechanic had 10 minutes. Not more, no damage, no experiments. The mechanic nodded, thanked him, and walked toward the jet with calm steps. Inside the aircraft, the mechanic moved differently than the others had. He didn't rush, he listened. He placed his hand on the metal, closed his eyes for a moment, and paid attention to the subtle sounds. He checked connections others had ignored, traced wires manually instead of relying only on screens. His mind wasn't thinking about money or pressure. It was thinking about responsibility. About getting home on time to help his daughter with homework. As he worked, his thoughts drifted to his life. Being a single dad wasn't easy. His wife had passed away years earlier, leaving him with a little girl who believed her father could fix anything. Every night she asked him how planes stayed in the sky, and every night he exclaimed with patience and wonder he couldn't afford mistakes, not at work and not at home. That discipline showed in every movement he made. After several minutes, he found something strange. A tiny sensor, barely noticeable, had been replaced during a previous upgrade. It was compatible on paper, but behaved differently under certain conditions. The system read everything as normal, but the jet refused to start as a safety measure. It was the kind of detail you'd miss if you trusted only diagnostics. He smiled slightly, knowing he was close. He adjusted the sensor, recalibrated it by hand, and reset the system in a way the manuals didn't suggest, but experience did. Then he stepped back and signaled for a test. People gathered, skeptical, but curious. The billionaire crossed his arms, already expecting failure. The engine turned. Once, twice, then roared to life. Silence followed. The stunned kind, eyes widened, mouths stayed open. The jet, worth hundreds of millions, was alive again. The billionaire stared in disbelief, then slowly broke into a smile he hadn't worn all day. He walked up to the mechanic and asked how long it would hold. The mechanic replied calmly that it would be fine, but he recommended a proper replacement later to avoid future issues. The billionaire laughed, a deep, genuine laugh, and shook the mechanic's hand. He asked him how much he wanted for the fix. The mechanic paused. Money mattered, but not the way people thought. He named a fair price, one that covered his work and time. Nothing more. The billionaire looked surprised, then impressed. Instead of paying just the amount, the billionaire did something unexpected. He asked the mechanic about his life, about his family, about how long he had been working there. When he heard the mechanic was raising a daughter alone, something changed in his expression. Respect replaced arrogance. The billionaire offered him a job on the spot, a senior position, better pay, benefits, security, a chance to work on aircraft around the world. The mechanic thanked him, but asked for time to think. He explained that his daughter came first, and he couldn't be away from her constantly. The billionaire nodded, understanding more than he let on. Before leaving, the billionaire did one more thing. He wrote a check, not just for the repair, but for the mechanic's daughter's education. No publicity, no cameras. Just a quiet gesture of appreciation. He told the mechanic that talent like his deserved opportunity, and humility like his deserved respect. The mechanic went home that evening earlier than usual. His daughter ran to the door, asking if he had fixed any big planes that day. He smiled and said yes, but the best part was being home in time for dinner. As they sat together, he realized that sometimes life tests you not to break you, but to reveal your worth to those who forgot how to see it. The next morning, the story spread quietly through the airport. People looked at the mechanic differently. Not because he fixed a billionaire's jet, but because he reminded everyone that true expertise doesn't always wear a suit. And real power doesn't need to shout. And somewhere in the sky, a billionaire flew to his meetings, thinking less about profit and more about the single dad who fixed what money alone could not. A reminder that respect, when given freely, can change lives on both sides. If this story moved you even a little, remember that greatness often walks in quietly, carrying an old toolbox and a lot of responsibility. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.